If you would, give us a brief primer on so many gender identities that, in your view, require non-traditional pronouns.
Basically, it's not correct that there is such a thing as biological sex. And I'm a historian of medicine. I can unpack that for you at great length if you want, but in the interest of time, I won't. So that's a very popular misconception. So I don't focus on pronouns because pronouns are actually part of a cisnormative culture. So what we do is learn about...
I'm going to stop you right there.
Yes, I was just about to explain.
Good.
So we don't start from a cisnormative perspective because that can't actually go very far.
What does cisnormative mean?
So I'm going to start us there. Cisnormative is basically the very popular idea and assumption that most people probably have, and definitely that our structures convey, that there is such a thing as male and female, that they connect to being a girl or a boy or a man or a woman. And then sometimes that will also recognize intersex or trans people or transsexual people, as you mentioned, because that's sometimes also referred to as a gender binary. So anything that fits within a gender binary can work within cisnormativity.
Okay.
But cisnormativity is basically that everyone assumes that there is male and female, and so very little is actually looked at to understand what's actually the case. And scientists have been doing this for at least over 50 years.
Your view would be it's much more complicated than that.
Right, it's not my view. I just know that for over 50 years, scientists have shown that that's not true, and yet our social systems haven't been able to find a way to address the level of complexity that people actually
say. What's your response?
Well, I don't understand what the claim that there's no such thing as biological sex means. And I certainly think it's, let's call it an error, to suggest that there's some sort of scientific consensus about that. I mean, there's biological differences between males and females in animals and human beings at every level.
So there's this new talking point that sex isn't real. Biological sex isn't real. Listen, I am from the Generation X. I know a lot of you hate us. We're latchkeys. We had to raise ourselves. We got beat, but we're still successful, and we talk a lot of shit and you don't like it. I get it. But we've seen a lot as a Generation X person. We've came from like records and 8-tracks, cassettes, CDs, Walkmans, DVDs to streaming. We've seen a lot of changes in society. And we adjust. Internet. If you don't know that sound, you're probably not Generation X. Like, we've seen a lot, and we try to keep up. We're like, all right, there's a lot of changes going on. For me, in my young days, when it came to sex and gender, when I was birthed into this world, was the same exact thing. If you're a female, you're an adult female, you're a woman. If you're an adult male, you're a man. Child, female, girl, child, male, boy. And that was it. And then there were people who said, no, although they're a male, although they're female, I don't consider myself a man. I don't consider myself a woman. And we consider that, not to be disrespectful, mental disorders. Just like they had a problem with how they saw their body. Like someone who was anorexic, they saw themselves as fat, but they were skinny as hell. And there was treatment like, no, I know you think you're fat, but you're actually malnourished and you're skinny. And there was treatment for that. And the same thing for people with gender dysphoria. I know you think you're a man, but you're actually a woman. And that's how it was, you know? But things changed. It changed just like cassettes changed to CDs. Things changed. So now it was like gender and sex are two different things. I'm like, I'm keeping up. As a Gen Xer, I'm keeping up. All right. So now it's not the same. No, it's not the same. Gender and sex are different. Your biological sex is one thing. Your gender identity is different. You can have the biology of a female, but have the gender identity of a man. I still didn't get it because I don't even know, like, I've lived all my life as a woman because I'm a female. I don't even know what that feels like, to be honest. Like, I wish I could say, oh man, I'm fat, but I feel like I'm skinny. I wish, but I digress. So yeah, it's changing, So now we're saying gender and sex are different. So I'm keeping up. I'm like, okay, that's fine, gender, sex. But now, guys, the hot topic, the new evolution in this, is sex is a social construct. Sex don't exist. Before they said gender was a social construct. You're a woman because society said, because you're female, you have to dress and act this way. Because you're male, you have to dress and act this way. Although it's a spectrum, because there are masculine women, there's feminine men, within the gay lesbian community, or not even, because I was a tomboy. I was considered masculine, and I never considered myself a boy, ever. I looked down, I was like, lady parts, I'm a girl. That's it. But now it's changing to say not only gender is a spectrum, but sex is a spectrum. And I'm like, I can't. I'm a Gen Xer. I can keep up with a lot of stuff. There was a time when you left your house and you were going to your job or your school that nobody could contact you. Nobody. There was payphones in the subways, and put a quarter in and call. Like, nobody could get you until you get in front of another rotary phone or whatever. Or then it got to touch. So I could roll with the punches. But now they're saying sex is also a spectrum. And I'm like, wait, what? Unless you're saying, like, if you have a big penis versus a small penis, the bigger your penis is, the more male you are. The smaller penis, the less. The bigger your clit, the more man you are. The smaller your clit, the less. That's how I'm picturing spectrum. But no, they're like, no, sex is a spectrum because of intersex people. And I'm like, 99% of the population identify with their sex and their gender. 99% of the population. That's a big percentage. But you want to say like 0.1 or 1% of the population who don't identify with it means that gender and sex is a spectrum? Are we applying this to the animal kingdom? Are lions and lionesses no longer a thing? Like, they say, oh, biological sex is not binary. Only for humans? Only for us. In the animal kingdom, lions and lioness, are they on a spectrum? How do you do, like, listen, I've been up with you guys. I've been keeping up for a minute, but now I can't keep up because it don't make no sense. If sex is not real, why is there people who's trying to transition into something that doesn't exist? Why take hormones? Why do surgery if sex doesn't exist? If it's like saying, oh, fat doesn't exist. So why are people trying to transition into a sex that's not their own if sex doesn't exist? Where is this world going to? Are we saying, okay, sex doesn't exist. Males and females are exactly the same. We all can produce babies. We all can bench press 500 pounds. You should all just... And part of me is thinking, it doesn't come from like trans men. Trans men are just like, because they know they're female. They're like, I ain't saying shit. But a lot of trans women, they know they're males and they know that they are stronger because of biology, but they want to pretend. Not all. I'm not even saying most. It's a small, loud ass population of them who's just trying to talk shit and confuse everybody. Sex doesn't exist. Well, and actually, you know what? I think that person I put up was a female. So, you know what? Now I'm confused. I'm confused. And if a Gen X person is confused, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Because what is happening? Sex is not real. So what are we doing? Why call yourself a woman? Why call yourself a female? Why call yourself a male? Why call a lion a lion? Why call a lioness a lioness? Why call a female dog a bitch? Sex isn't real. Yeah, I've been keeping up with a lot of stuff throughout my years. Throughout my years, I've kept up with a lot. A-Track, streaming, rotary phones, cell phones. Sex and gender are the same. Sex and gender doesn't exist. That I cannot compute. Because I don't get it. I'm rambling because I really don't get it. And they're like trying to make, they're stopping children's puberty based on them liking girl things and boy things that apparently doesn't exist, because girl and boy doesn't exist, right? I like boy things when I was like, oh my God, I'm glad I was not born in this generation. They would probably stick me with some freaking hormones and say you're a trans man or whatever, all because you liked non-traditional girly things. What, you like playing with toys in Voltron? You like comic books? You must be a trans man. You must be a man. Although men and males doesn't exist. You know what? I'm done because I'm confused. I'm confusing myself right now because I don't even know what else to say. So, bye.